What's up, guys? Coming to you while hanging upside down, and I thought I'd share some headspace on what was not only driving me to do this now, but what's really driven me to do this over 20 plus years. So first and foremost, I hang upside down every week in and week out. While I probably miss a week, I do it enough in a week that it averages out to a minimum of twice a week. So similar to me recommending chiropractic care as a lifestyle, as something we preventatively do in a low-cost, long-term relationship versus a high-cost, reactive situation that a lot of us are just trained to think in. Don't worry about diabetes. They got metformin when you have it. And don't worry about the side effects after 5 years of taking it. We have something for that as well. And don't worry about cancer, right? Because we have state-of-the-art medicine and pharmaceuticals to treat those things. Versus the headspace of what can I do low cost, long term that can minimize my risk? It might not make me bulletproof, but it'll minimize the risk. And God forbid I still have genetic predisposition to something. Maybe my recovery is smoother. Maybe it's better. This I just know gives me the best shot. And that's my headspace with everything. If I'm recommending chiropractic, and everybody, humanity needs to be adjusted. That at the core is my headspace. It's not about a financial incentive. If I'm recommending exercise, I'm recommending someone work on foot mobility or foot strength, working on not just this core, but the core of our feet or our vertical core, which would be our spinal column. At the end of the day, it's all about low-cost, repetitive, long-term things that we can do regularly throughout our life that we can actually enjoy and get better from, not just calm down symptoms from, but we actually progress as humans, as people, as our ability to handle more load and maintain high energy levels and do the things that we want to do. Well, all of that comes down to having things in place, and hanging upside down is really one of those things that I've been executing for a long time. Now, a lot of us have a call to action when it comes to hanging upside down, and that's low back tightness and stiffness. And, that's when we're reminded, hey, I really need to do that because that compression is building. And this is a great tool that you have control over to decompress and lengthen your spine. Experts that are just studying, the scientists that just review data say that the majority of humanity dealing with low back pain, it's discogenic low back pain, which just basically means the origin of the pain, where the root stems from, is in the disc, is in the spinal disc. Now in the neck, it's a little bit different anatomically, because in the neck you have discs, okay, the spaces, the cushions, the tires, but you have joints as well, and they handle almost an equal load depending on what data you read, whether it's 50-50 or 60-40. But when we get into the low back, they say because the way the anatomy is shaped, the majority of the load is really hit on the disc. It doesn't mean the facet joints, the joints behind the disc, aren't helping distribute that load, but they're just saying, hey, the majority of low back is being absorbed. All that force and compression is through the disc. So I could give you a long conversation and narrative and explanation on to why it's so important to move your body in certain ways to help the whole system, and the fascia, and the joints, the tendons, the ligaments, the spine, everything about the body working together to share in that load. And that would obviously be most effective. But at the end of the day, I got to realize that my audience is more than just a high-end athlete who has the time and the luxury to train like that, to always dial those things in. I'm not rationalizing or giving you an excuse either. I think all of us need to be working on that and layering things in every single week to make us better and to help our body move better. And it doesn't mean doing crazy ass stuff either. I mean, it's pretty simple, and then you can just progress in a direction that you're happy with. But that's not even where I wanted to go with that. But I did need to share that headspace because I think that is important. And a lot of times I'll rip a vid and people will just hang on the one thing I'm saying, and they don't see maybe the edited version out. Obviously you don't see that, or you're never around me, so you don't really know my headspace other than what I've shared with you in a video. But I'm a big fan of all of that stuff. Like I said, I'm a big fan of everything that I do, obviously, but also the things I don't do that people can do that they have control over, that falls under the umbrella or the category of low cost, long term, and things that we can reap benefit from, whether there's tons of data on it or the data hasn't caught up yet. I've seen it all, and I've experienced it all. So getting back to hanging upside down, though, what I want to leave you guys with, regardless of your call to action to hang upside down and invert, even if it's not fully inverted like I'm doing here, isn't just, hey, get in it when you have low back pain because it's good for that, because it is, right? Because it's addressing that discogenic, that loading, compression, and swelling on the disc. So it's going to help create that length. Is it going to take the edge off right away? Well, I think that depends on the health and condition of your spine. There's times after a super long week, I'll hang upside down. My back is definitely stiff. and I feel great. And other times, it's going to be multifactorial. I might need to get some more movement in, stretch in, make sure I'm taking my omega-3s, drinking lots of water, getting adjusted, make sure my joints are sliding good, that there's no interference to my central nervous system, that everything's pulling its own weight and handling its own load the way it's designed to do, So, but at the end of the day, it's more than low back pain. And this is what I want to leave you guys with is, while I do it sometimes for that, I always think like this, right? We have good and evil receptors in the body, and the evil ones really aren't evil, but I'm just saying that because we all know good and evil, and it's easy to teach that way. But evil would be the type of receptors that are in our body that are relaying up through the spinal cord and into the brain information about stress, dysfunction, and things that just aren't working properly. And think of it like a measuring system, okay, or a measuring cup. And once it hits a certain threshold, it's going to drive an electrical signal, which would be pain. And these types of receptors, these evil, but aren't really evil, but for teaching purposes, we'll call them evil. Evil are called nociceptors, N-O-C-I-ceptors. And their job isn't to transmit pain, even though that it spills over into that. Their job is to measure dysfunction, damage, degeneration, things that, again, aren't working well. And then you have other types of receptors that are laced in your spine, but also majority are in your muscles as well. And they're called mechanoreceptors, like mechanistic, right, receptors. And they're measuring and sending information to your spinal cord and up through into your brain about like balance and alignment and movement. And that's why exercise and movement is so important, because it's constantly charging the nervous system. It's constantly flooding your body with positive information that in turn then your central nervous system makes an adjustment, whether it be metabolism, hormones, stress, or inflammation, or anything else for that matter. So it's positive input into your body. You with me on that? So we have good and evil. The good is good, measuring all the good stuff that helps our body adjust and adapt, improvise, and overcome. And then you have evil, but again, not evil, but they're sending that type of stuff. And if they send enough of it over time, then you're going to experience pain, and you're going to feel what your body's trying to tell you. But its job is to keep that under wraps. And the job obviously is to go this way. We want good high, we want evil low. But one of the reasons why I like hanging upside down is because it falls under the basket of good. What it does for my body through decompression, through lengthening, through making things unsticky, through unjamming jam joints, and just kind of, again, helping my lymphatics, helping circulation, help get gravity and load off my body. That's going to register under the good. And the more good I have, the more likely it is for me to not experience pain, because I have the evil receptors going down. So that also allows me, like if I'm working extra hours, or I'm not lifting perfectly, or a lot of life is involved in what I'm doing in a week and I'm just all over the place, well, it's easy for those evil ones to record more data, and then I'm going to start to do this, and it can affect my mental, my energy, it can affect my body, I can feel pain and discomfort. So I'm always doing things, whether it's eating, moving, even thinking, getting adjusted, all these things to constantly pour into the good. That way they'll always suppress the bad. They can't be both up at the same time. So it's not just about hanging upside down, even though this is what I'm doing right now, but why I do this is the same reason why you should. And it's the same reason why you got to constantly stay dialed into everything. It's like your body, from exercising last week isn't going to stimulate all those good. It's like you have to constantly pour in. And if you don't, then it's going to be overtaken by evil. So it's all about good and evil. And at the end of the day, I'm hanging upside down because I want to pour into the good, and I want to always minimize the evil. I hope you got value from this. As always, you already know I got your back. That's why I'm teaching you and talking to you and bringing you along with me while I'm trying to relax and hang upside down, baby.